You are listening to Chai with the CEO, a Random Genius Media original.
So, welcome, Atul, to our little tete a tete chai with the CEO. Thank you for taking out time on a
I'm on the
Saturday.
wrong program.
You
I'm
come
on
on the
the
wrong program.
Yeah, I'm not CEO of Turnkey.
Okay, you're not?
No,
You handed the reins to Daler Mehendi.
no. I'm managing director.
Okay, no problem. So, for us, anyone at the managerial level, we it's alliteration, something that my English teacher will be proud of. So,
So then we should do margaritas with the MD.
okay, margaritas with MD, or how Mega Tata put it. She said, "I want to do tea with Tata." Tea with Tata. I said, "Please get Tata on board as a sponsor. I'll do tea with Tata."
So in deference, here's the chai.
Oh wow! And that's your baby. Cheers.
The baby who was.
The baby who was. Oh my God. Okay. May his
Hmm.
soul rest in peace.
Anyway, let's get to
Excellent. Let's
it.
get to it. So I have a lot of questions to ask you, a lot of insights and inputs to glean. Before I get there, I'm going to play a little intro to you, and I hope it does justice. Now, the first thing is I need to put myself on mute. Okay, so just
That's not a bad thing. I can't hear you now. It works.
Today on Chai with the CEO, we're sitting down with a true pioneer, a man who didn't just witness the birth of Indian pop music, he midwifed it. He's the man behind iconic names like Colonial Cousins, Shan, Alisha Chinai, and so many more. Launching artists before launching artists were cool. Some call him the godfather of Indian music, others the papa of pop. We just call him Atul. With his razor sharp wit, zero hair, and infinite wisdom, he's not just shaped sounds, he's shaped careers. And now, as the CEO of Turnkey, he's serving the industry with the same passion but a new mission to educate, empower, and elevate. So grab your chai, turn up the volume, and settle in because this one's going to be part masterclass, part mixtape, and full on Atul.
so that's our in-house talent. Budgets are thin, so you have
So,
to call on your resources.
and this was
This was my daughter Isabella,
amazing. Please
and
thank her from me. That was very sweet.
thank you so much. She insisted on doing the full take together, even though I told her I can punch in. She said, "No, no,
Mm.
no, I've got to do it again." And yeah,
True artist.
true
True
artist. So welcome, Atul. I hope we
Thank you.
did justice to your intro.
Oh
Um,
God, you made you. It's just so embarrassing. I'm not even a father. You buggers call me Godfather
Godfather.
and
Anyway,
Papa and all that.
we have we have another surprise for you at the end of the show. Please remind me to give you your surprise. Okay.
Okay.
Let's kick off. I know you don't like the word Godfather, but you've been called the Godfather of Indian pop. How did this journey start, and did you ever imagine it lead here?
Okay. So first of all, if you want to talk about a Godfather, the Godfather has to be a man called Shashi Gopal, who set up a company called Magna Sound, right? And Shashi had been with HMV, now called Saregama, for 18 years, in which she'd handled a variety of portfolios. And Magna Sound started as licensees for Warner Music in India. We were releasing their music here. But right from the start, Shashi said, this is a trading business where we don't own anything. So he very quickly got into recordings. And we started with a lot of Indian classical music. We had a magnificent album with Allah Rakha Khan Sahab and Zakir, on which Fazal played one track as well. And that sold like a pop album. It was called Together with Allah Rakha Sahab and Zakir. So Shashi was very clear that we needed to do something that wasn't there in the market. And we started doing pop music before 1991, right? 91 was when uh, MTV came in. MTV came in on the back of Star Television as one of the channels. And Shashi was the first one to actually recognize the opportunity And he put me in touch with them, and that's how it all started. And we were very clear that we wanted to do pop music. We thought there was talent that would make an impact, and we could create a market segment. So we went after it relentlessly. So again, I would say full marks to Shashi, and very kindly people say that you did this, you did that. Okay, so I would like to say I was part of a team that did it, because we worked with some phenomenal talents, and they're all doing so well today, film, non-film, etc. So it was the artists, it was the composers, it was the lyric writers, the video makers. People don't recognize Ken Ghosh as he's really the bap of the music video in India. So there were a lot of people who contributed. I happened to be, the face, let's say. So yeah, it was something that we did with a passion, and we wanted to be the best at it. And it was always about every album needed to succeed. And somewhere in your
Yeah.
heart of hearts, when you hear the product, whether it's going to do well or not. You have to be honest with yourself. In a lot of cases, we knew that it wouldn't work, but we still put everything into it. We tried our damnedest. And that was it. And we were all, in our 20s, late 20s, early 30s types. And it was such fun. And I think that's really what drove us. It was the passion, it was the excitement, it was the crazy times we had. It was the MTV boys, it was the Channel V boys, it was just the whole bunch of us. It was fantastic, a great time.
Amazing. Uh, Very true. It takes an army to put an album together. And there are a lot of these unsung heroes that you mentioned, and shout out to all of them. They know who they are. We can't take everyone's names, but very gracious of you to share the accolades with them. What was it about acts like, because I love origin stories, right? Who doesn't? About how things came together. So, what was it about acts like Colonial Cousins and Alisha Chinai that made you go, yes, this is it? And of course, other artists that you have brought to, the public domain.
See, everyone's story was very different, right? Colonial, of course, Hari. So Shashi Gopal and I had worked with Hari in CBS, where he had ghazal albums. When Shashi started Magnus Sound, we signed Hari, and he did more ghazal albums. And he was a prolific jingle singer as well. And Leslie Lewis is, the bap of jingles along with Louis Banks. So Les and he were in the studio. I think they were waiting for the agency to come in, and Les started strumming something on the guitar. Hari started singing, and then Les said, "Hey, this sounds like something." So they recorded a song because they were in Hari's studio. They recorded a song, and Shashi and Hari were very close. So Hari and Les came in, played it. Shashi called me. You just jumped out of your skin. You said, "What the hell is this?" But God bless them. Les kind of figured out that he wanted to go to London, and he wanted to do, some parts recorded there. We come back, do the Indian parts here, go back, mix and master there, and all that, which was an expensive project. And Shashi said, okay. And it was, we spent so much money on that album. I don't think we'd ever spent that much on just recording the album. And it was then the marketing that became important. So to me, when Les and Hari did the first song, it was oh God, look at my memory. The first single, right? So Sarigama Pada Nisa.
Hmm.
And when they'd done the album, they came back, and everyone had a different opinion. Krishna was obviously, something that everyone wanted to do. Les wanted to do Parule, Shashi wanted to do Krishna, and all that. And I said, guys, we loved it because of the first song that you did. And Les said, we've moved on from there. I said, yeah, but you have to move when the audience is with you. If you move before you have the audience, then that's not going to work. So it was kind of an insistence that I had, and Les actually put in the sleeve notes of the CD. He said, if this album doesn't do well, it's Atul's fault because he chose. Good Lord. Anyway, but
Great.
it was about trying to establish the fact that these guys were not youngsters. Why were they doing pop music? So if you look at the video, I sat with Ken, And we kind of said, let's show their journey to the world, where they've been friends from school, doing different things. They have ambitions to win Grammy Awards and, sing with Whitney Houston and do this, that, and the other. So we made it a fun thing, but it was very clearly a relationship between these two people who have grown to a certain age. And then, at the end, if you remember, this guy trips, Hari trips Les or Les trips Hari, and the other guy then puts that thing on the bike, kick me or whatever, hit me. So it was the interaction between them, the bonding
Yeah.
between them that we built.
Yeah.
And then we went with Krishna, because then that showed the serious side of Colonial, So it was a very detailed, thought through campaign. The outfits that they wore, those achkans, cost over 80 grand. And I got bollocked for it by Shashi, because obviously, he's gonna spend so much on their outfits. But it all made a difference. And
Yes.
God bless Shashi, because, he let me do shit, which I did. And it was expensive. When we did the model shoot, my God, I think we paid another 80 grand just for a photo shoot, which used to cost 20 grand, So these were things that happened, but Colonial was, of course, very special. And then we did the Unplugged, which was one hell of a story. You
Yeah.
remember
Yeah.
that?
Yeah. No, okay. So I want to punctuate this conversation to say this is part one, okay, of many parts. We will catch you every Saturday morning, and we will make this a syndicated show with Atul, Chai with the CEO, or Margaritas with the MD.
The MD,
Get
yeah.
it right. Yeah, we'll change the branding for you. Part one, part two, part three. But also I think what evolved, and I don't know if this was intentional, but Hari's slightly serious personality. Les is slightly naughty kind of uh, you know uh, took shape, and I clearly vividly remember that kick me post-it on the back of his being pasted on, and it is amazing. Unfortunately, we can't play the track because we don't have that kind of money to pay musicians, pay the music companies, but brings back memories. Alisha Chinai.
So, Alisha, what had happened was we had a success with Baba, right? So,
Okay.
we had Tanda Tanda Pani, we had Maybe Madonna. And then Alisha was an artist who had done a lot of albums with HMV, with Sarigama. And she called and she said she wanted to do a song with Baba. And to me, it was like, it wasn't showing up Alisha as the big artist. It was more like, taking advantage of Baba's name. So we said, listen, so I spoke to Shashi, I had to get clearance on everyone. And of course, Shashi knew her. So we decided, listen, why don't we do an album with her instead? So we did an album which was called Bombay Girl, which Les composed and produced. And that did very well. And then we went and signed a further contract, and we did Made in India. So that's what happened.
Yeah, nice. Very nice. In an age before YouTube, Spotify, and the other streaming platforms, how did you spot and launch talent without algorithms? Was it gut feel or tea leaves or some other?
And it's gut feel, because even today I don't look at numbers. I'm not big on social media and all. I don't read too much. I post sometimes.
You only come there for Raul Dakuna.
Yeah, absolutely. When you listen to an artist, when you watch someone, I think you're looking for that little uniqueness that they have, right? So an interesting one is Shweta Shetty. So she had done an album with CBS. We were in Magna Sound. So she did an album with CBS, which was by then a rival company. And then, she'd called Shashi, I think, once or twice, and there wasn't much of a conversation. And then I went to Xavier's. I think they were playing Independence Rock. And she was performing with Rock Machine or one of these bands. I saw her on stage. She was electric. She was just electric. And I said, how can we not sign this girl? And the tonality of that voice, I said, oh, we must sign this girl, right? So that was Shweta. Daler, Jawahar had done Baba's albums. He'd introduced us to Baba. He'd produced the first album for Baba. So he called and he said, I've got a song you should listen. I've got an artist you should listen to. My cassette bhej raha hu. So he sent a cassette to the office with the lad singing one song, which was on a harmonium with a tabla, and he was singing Gurbani. just heard the voice and the vocals and said, this is insane. And I asked Jawar, I said, Gurbani karni kya karna? He said, no, he's an electric performer. So I sent the tape to Shashi. I was in Delhi. I sent it to Shashi in Bombay, and I said, by then Shashi had he was a the thing in Dubai. He had a residence there, whatever. So I said, Daler's going to Dubai. He was performing, and I said, you must go because listen to this. He's just amazing, and Jawar says he's great on stage. So Shashi went for the show. He was bowled over. So apparently Daler performed for 3 hours, and they asked him from the audience. And he makes everyone dance. He used to do medleys only, and apparently he asked the audience asked him. They said, "How long are you going to perform?" He said, "How long are you going to dance?" So it was one of those. So Shashi said, "We have to sign this guy." Of course, amazing. So again, full credit to Jawar, who introduced us to some great talents, and he also did Shweta's "Deewane To Deewane Hai Aar Wo."
Nice. I have so many follow-up questions, but the one that comes to mind is, on one of your recent, or rather, one of the industries, or I think it was social media that you posted, saying that they need to teach kids how to listen to music in schools, right? It was a pretty passionate post. Do you want to touch on that a little bit in terms of just music education in schools?
Yeah. So, the point is that as music grows, people, social media becomes important. A lot of artists are successful because they have large followings. What is of concern is quality because, I come from an era of gatekeepers. We rejected a lot, we accepted some, right? So we tried to maintain a standard. Maybe we succeeded or not. But today, technology lets people like me record music and put it up, right? And nothing could be worse for the world than if you allow that, right? Because you're going to get a lot of garbage. So two things happen. One is that the cost of the business goes up because storage is critical, right? And the second thing is that if I start getting a lot of likes and following, etc., despite not being able to even sing in tune, it's not going to encourage me to improve my craft. So, from a cultural perspective, also, an educated listener is going to encourage the performer, the artist, the creator to create better. So, the standard overall will go up. So, if I have to compete, I'm looking at guys who are really hacking it. So, if you go back to playback singing, which is very easy to understand, when you had icons like Lata Mangeshkar and Kishore Kumar and Asha Bhosle, right? People were trying to live up to them. They were the icons, they were the idols. I think that's very important. You have to be masters of a craft. Not that
Yeah.
technology hai to main bhi singer hu. So that was the reason.
True, true. You've seen the industry go from cassettes to reels. What's the one thing that has gotten better, and one thing that's gotten terribly worse, according to you?
Look, again, if I say worse, then it just shows my age, right? So technology is something that you can't fight. You have to harness it. You have to work with technology, right?
Correct.
So I think you have to accept it and appreciate it, that it's something that is today allowing a lot of talented people who might not have had access to the labels, who might not have known how to approach them. It's allowing them to approach labels. And even if you don't have a label, it's allowing you to release music. So I think that's a massive change, and it's a great one. The second thing is that if you look at back in the day, etc., etc., we had marketing, which was a one size fits all. So if you made a music video and put it on MTV Channel V, you kind of reached out to all music lovers in the country. Today, what's happened is, and you'll hear a lot of this in conversation about communities. What exactly are communities? Communities are a following that an artist has. And if I ask you, Sheldon, how many genres of music do you think there are in the world today? How many would you say?
Yeah, I mean, upwards of definitely 1,000 upwards, at least that I can think of.
Yeah. So today there are over 6,000 genres of music. Okay. So you can slice and dice music in many different ways.
Got it.
All music has a listener. Now, what is a community? A community is people who listen to that kind of music. So if I'm doing some plastic, crazy, heavy metal, Malayalam influenced, it becomes a genre on its own. and I can get an audience that will listen to me. That's my community. So today, the UK charts, the US charts are fairly irrelevant to a lot of music listeners. A lot of more people are listening to music and they're not scrolling to see what's number one in the US charts today because Spotify has its own charts. Atul Churamani has his own charts. Why am I bothered about heavy metal when I don't listen to heavy metal? Right?
True.
So technology has enabled this, which is beautiful, which is very targeted marketing.
Micro personalization.
Yes, because it comes at zero cost. The machine is doing it for you. So when artists get a little overawed, saying that I don't know about marketing and all that, if you tag your music well, your marketing is done. Be patient because when you get that breakthrough song, it will take you to people who are genuinely interested in you. Instead of having a million likes on a social media platform, of which nothing translates when you get on stage in front of an audience.
Point. So if you had to build a super group today from new Indian talent, who would make the cut for Atul Sharmani?
I see. I don't think like that. Okay,
Okay,
because again, I think the era of forcing groups together, which we did, right? We did models, we did a couple of other things. Uh, I don't think that exists anymore because people want a lot of reality. So if the group gravitates towards each other and they build an organic band, I think that's the way they'll succeed. You can force it, of course. You put four friends together in a room and you've got a band. But will it give you the kind of authenticity you want in the music? I don't think so.
so the days of Viva and Asma are
Yeah,
kind of over.
they had their place.
They had their place.
They had their place. But
Correct.
I don't know if I would want to do it today because I hear a lot of exceptional talent that should shine on its own.
True. True. You've mentored so many. What's the secret sauce for spotting potential before the rest of the world catches on?
I, I don't know. I don't think there's a formula really, but I think it's about. So, one of the best compliments I ever got was from Talat Aziz, and it wasn't a compliment to me. He was talking to a tabla player called Tariq Khan. So, Tariq Khan is US based. He's a tabla player who played with Mehdi Hassan for pretty much all Mehdi Hassan's US shows. So, Tari had come to the office, we were in Saregama, and we were talking about music or something. So, he asked Talat, he said, Talat, ye kalakar hain? So, Talat said, nahi, but inme kalakar ki रूह hai. So I think what you want to do as an A&R person is number one, understand the artist, understand their vision, and then try and help them build what they want to build, but perhaps they can't articulate it because they're very close to the music.
Correct.
You're objective. And it's not necessary that you're being an ass when you tell them that something's not working. Artists don't like it. So you have to try and explain what is not working. You can't say, yeah, acha nahi hai. Okay. If you can tell them what's not working, the lyrics are not working, the composition's not working, the rhythms are not working. But again, I'm not a musician. So I can tell them, this part is not working, or this is not sitting, or it's too slow, it's too fast, whatever, right? Try and give them something helpful. And then keep working with them. And one thing is you have to look at it from 30,000 feet. The artist is very involved and you're building a career. So people like Shan, for example, when we started, right? Long hair, like he was 19 or 20 when we signed him, right? So we went the Loveology phase, this, that, and the other. And then we transitioned slowly and we brought him to Tanha Dil, right? So that whole thing, because I'd seen his life journey, I knew who he was, I knew what he was. So we took 2 years to do the album. I took 4 months to do the video. Shan was getting really angry with me because I was really taking time on it. But I felt it was necessary because we had to get everything correct. Otherwise, his career would have gone into the toilet. To me, it becomes personal for me as well.
True. True. Incidentally, Shan happens to be a senior of mine from school, St. Stanislaus.
Amazing.
And I think he's probably the most bothered artist because every school function, he gets a call. Do you mind coming and singing? And the poor guy he's so
He's a,
sweet. He
he's a
won't say no,
sweetheart.
right? He's a
He's a
sweetheart. He won't
sweetheart.
say no, but
Yeah.
you'll see him up there. And, of course, just massive respect to him as an artist as well. And his craft is unbelievable. He also spoke about, doing riyaz every day, even if you're doing work or not doing work, you're continuously honing your craft, right?
Yeah. So, the interesting thing is, I saw him for the first time when we were recording Style Bhai's album. And he was doing backing vocals. They did a duet, actually. I think he was singing that one. I walked to the studio. I heard the voice. Salim Suleiman were producing the album. I heard the voice and I said, this texture is so beautiful. And I think the song was called Head Over Heels.
It's like cutting butter with a knife, right?
Yeah,
It's so
and then I looked at him, handsome boy, long hair, lovely personality. I said, this guy's a pop star. There's no way we are not going to work with him. And then I looked at Sagarika. She was in the studio. Brother, sister. I said, holy crap. I mean, is it actually?
that's a super group there, right? That's if
Absolutely.
ever there was one.
Yep.
Right? So Atul, talking about artists, what's the one tough love lesson you've had to give an artist that changed their path?
I see again, I wouldn't take credit for doing anything like that. But I think it's important to keep talking to the artist. So, for example, with Shan, right? Uh, how do we develop so that I always believe that, and it was, let's say, easier back in the day because you were doing, let's say, an album a year. So you had 1 year between product to kind of look at what was happening with the artist today over yesterday. And one thing I do believe in is that artists tend to do the same thing over and over again and hoping for a different or better result each time. The listener isn't thinking like that. The listener is just comparing you with your last product. So the more variety you can put in after a certain point of time, because today machines are helping you grow. So after you've developed a profile and the machine understands what kind of music you do, then it's important to go and break the mold. So go and do something different so that you're not being compared with your last song. And a lot of artists are struggling because they're just doing that.
Great information. As a CEO or MD now, do you find yourself being more like a music conductor or a startup founder?
I don't know, yeah, I'm not a business wala, so I always joke, I say I run a not-for-profit, not because I want to run a not-for-profit, it just happens I'm a great businessman. So hamara profit to gaya tel lene. So I don't think business, right? I I kind of work with people, try to understand uh, what they want to do, where they want to go. So whether it's, international publishers who are signed with us, what's your vision? Why do you want to come to India? Right? Here's the ground reality. Do you still want to come to India? And if you do, what do you want to do there? And can we help you do it? I think that's really what one is looking to do. And of course, with the artists and the composers and writers also. So thankfully, now we have a lot of composers and lyric writers writing to us separately. They're not artists. And that's really the sign of publishing, maturing. So I'd be happy to work with them. They all need refining, and it's difficult because if you're writing in isolation, you don't know which artist you're writing for. And then you come across someone like me who's like, but this has to be true to what the artist's image is. And he says, I don't even know what artist you're talking about. So I think it's all in development process and I love it. I think it's great because this is what the music industry is about.
Great. You're known for your wit and one-liners.
Oh.
Do you think humor is underrated in leadership?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. So I think you can make a point without being insulting, without putting the other person down. And, the great thing is when you've had a variety of bosses who all had different leadership styles, you tend to look at them and say, okay, I can imbibe this and this I will use and this I will not use for sure. Right. And one thing, it doesn't matter in business or, you'll have school groups about politics and all that. People are not able to differentiate a work issue with a personality. So the general tendency becomes, he's an idiot. Okay. But what was the issue? The issue was that you were not agreeing on a music video, the story of a music video, let's say. But then that guy becomes an ass and you become a know-it-all. And the biggest one on this is probably politics. Because if you're on any group, you'll hear this big polarization of politics, and this politician is great and that politician is not great. But if
Correct.
you can pull back and say, what are we talking about? So you're talking about digital India, you're talking about an infrastructure, you're talking about communal harmony. These are issues, right? So address the issue. It's not important because, politicians also have different views on each of these things, irrespective of their parties. So it's not about the party, it's not about the person. It's actually about the issue. Now, if you can do that, and you can put a little bit of humor in the situation, you're not being insulting to the person, you're not hammering his confidence, because it's important that your team has confidence. If you're putting them down in front of everyone, there's going to be a loss of, let's say, well, it's humiliating. So you
Yeah.
don't want to do that. You want to keep encouraging them, and humor plays a great role, I think.
I have personally seen how you shepherd your team, with sort of uh, playing more of the guidance role rather than dictator, and this has to be done and that has to be done my way. Of course, everyone has deadlines, timelines that you need to meet, but there's a way to handle that, and I would so do you think Shashi Gopal is your sort of north star in terms of leadership?
Again, see, I'll tell you the great thing about Shashi. Shashi, number one, had a vision, which is important for a leader. Number two, he spent a lot of time with his people training them. So to understand the vision and to drive in that direction, you need to be able to educate them. And the best way to do it is to sit with them. So I think Shashi had that. Shashi's negatives were probably that he was short-tempered, and we were all kids. So people used to get very frightened and they wouldn't talk to him. So I became that kind of middle person where people would come and weep on my shoulder. And I was able to talk to Shashi about it. And, God bless it. But Shashi and I had a great relationship. So it was easy for me to talk to Shashi. So that was one. Then Dilip Mehta at Saregama was another amazing MD we had. And he was very dispassionate. He could look at things very objectively. So he taught people, how to do that. So you don't get involved. Then there was Shubroto at HMA, and he actually told me this about personality issues versus work issues. He taught us how to do presentations because, I mean, we're in the music business. Why the hell would we do a presentation? But his FMCG background and knowing that now you're going to be talking to brands, etc., and they expect certain things to be presented. So I think there was a lot of good learning from a lot of these people. So, you just imbibe what you think is correct.
Great. I think one of the things I learned from an ex-boss, him, MV Rajesh, was zoom in and zoom out, right? Because sometimes you get too involved in a situation, you need to zoom out. And that's something I've carried with me. And every time I get flustered by a situation, I kind of just zoom out, look at it from a 30,000 feet view, and, that kind of brings some
Yeah.
normalcy back.
And also as a leader, always lead from the front. So if there's a problem, be there. Don't try and push your foot soldiers forward, to take the heat from whoever's upset with you or whatever. Lead from the front. And if you do that, you'll probably resolve it faster than if there's an issue, than other people can. And, people look up to you when you do that.
True, true. Let's talk about Turnkey for a bit. Your decision to set up your own publishing company and guide artists from that vantage point. You also do paddy fields. So tell us something about the other IPs that you've created while at Turnkey.
Yeah. So, music publishing is a strange thing because if you remember when we had cassettes and CDs, LPs, there used to be a name of a song and there was some words in brackets. So this sometimes there were names, and sometimes you read things like ASCAP/BMI or whatever. Outside of the business, I used to read these things. I used to wonder what they were because we didn't know what the hell they were. Then after one joined the business, one understood all this, and you'll be surprised. But in 1995, so I have a very good mentor in our director legal now at Turnkey. His name is Hardeep Singh Anand. He's easily the best copyright lawyer in the country. He doesn't sell himself to the industry. He does what he feels like. He's a laid back character. All geniuses are. So he actually taught us a lot about music publishing. And in 1995 in Magnus Sound, we started a publishing company in 1995. It was called Noteworthy Publishers. And we signed a whole bunch of people, Salim Suleiman, Anu Malik, Sham Anuragi, a lot of people we were working with to do this whole pop thing. But somewhere it was probably too early. The economics weren't working on mechanical royalties versus this, that, and the other. So we dumped it. But it always stayed with me. And, I went from label to label, and then we were on mobile together and stuff. So when Arvind was talking to me, Arvind Rao, the founder of On Mobile. So when he was talking to me and saying, listen, join us, I said, Arvind, I'm pushing 50 now. You've got some issues with the industry, etc. I'll come in, I'll sort them out. And then 1 year later, you'll say, thank you very much, go your own way. So I don't know if I want to come in as a full-time employee or whether I can be a consultant and start my own company on the side. So he said, what do you want to do? I said, this digital era, I'm seeing the necessity of music publishing because artists, and especially young artists now coming up, they don't understand this. So he said, does it conflict with On Mobile? I said, not at all. He said, "Theek hai, kar le." So I set up Turnkey, I registered it. And then when I left On Mobile, then I kind of got going seriously. The idea was to help artists who didn't know about publishing, make sure that they were registering their work, they were doing this, that, and the other. It was never thought of as a business. Okay, I always thought I would end up being a consultant, and I would do this for the benefit of artists. But strangely, I didn't realize that we were actually, and we still are, the only standalone domestic, homegrown music publisher. Everybody else is a label with publishing controlled by the label. So we are still the only ones. So in 2020, Cobalt called and said, listen, we're looking for someone to represent us in India. I'm like, okay, that's me. So, I mean, what do I do? So anyway, one started building it. And because, we were the only ones, then BMG came, Fairwood came, Warner Chappell has appointed us for Sync. There's Bucks, there's Wise Music. So there's a whole bunch of music publishers we represent now. And it's kind of looking like it's turning into a business. It still has challenges, of course. But again, I'm very happy that we're doing this because we're working with young artists. We are working with IPRS. And we are kind of navigating this whole thing because even, don't forget, IPRS was set up to work with labels who were controlling publishing. And the concept of a publisher representing different, sub-publishers, etc., it's all very new. So there's a lot of work that we're doing with IPRS also, which is going to be beneficial to the industry. So that's the general thing about that. The IPs we did, so Paddy Fields was done for Nesco. Nesco had called and said that we want a festival. What do you suggest? So we gave them 3 or 4 ideas and they loved the idea of a folk fusion festival. So that's how it started. Unfortunately, it got shut down after and during COVID, and then they haven't revived it, and they're doing very well now. Their business is to lease out their premises, not to do content. But during COVID, interestingly, for Jim Beam, we did a series of online concerts, the Jim Beam Originals concerts. So we did that. Then we've done Songs from the Desert. So, there's different things. And I'd love to do more. Let me put it that way. If I had the money, I'd do it.
I'm going to come to you with some ideas on what can be done. Of course, ideas are a dime a dozen, but I think there is, and that's something that wanted to quickly touch upon. Music concerts have come back to India with a bang, right? It seems everyone and his uncle is making a beeline for India. What is your take on the concerts, the artists that are coming in? Are we getting the best of the crop? Whom can we look forward to?
So I think, yes, of course, we are. So when you say Ed Sheeran's performing here, Guns N' Roses are performing there, etc., these are guys people were traveling abroad to see, right? They're here and they're coming and they're definitely going to keep coming, right? I think what we really need to do is, so those are the headline acts, but we need to build an infrastructure. We've been saying this for a long time, and people have to understand that there are different kinds of artists. At the moment, we seem to be going between antisocial and the race course. So we need something in between. And in Bombay, at least, you have some venues. You have Royal Opera House, you have NCPA, etc., etc. In a lot of cities, you don't have this. And I was trying to put something together for an India tour, and I found, yes, there still is this need. So I think that 2 things can be done. One is what has happened unsuccessfully is conversations with people like Live Nation, etc., to come in and invest in India. I don't think they were confident at the time. Today, they may have changed their minds because they're associated with some of these tours. So they've seen that there is potential. The second is that the government has a lot of facilities. Now, if you're talking about culture and you're talking about uh, cultural tourism, then you have to look at facilities that you had built. You go to Delhi and you go to Sri Fort Auditorium. It's a lovely auditorium, but it's run down. Now, when you have something like that, and it's a 2,000 seater or slightly more, right? You can do a lot over there. So if you had venues like this in, let's say, about 100 cities in India, look at the potential to bring in mid-size acts, which are far more doable than trying to do Guns N' Roses and Dua Lipa.
Correct.
So I think the infrastructure, when the Prime Minister also spoke about the concert economy, right? This is the main thing to address. That where are the venues? Everything can't go outdoors. There are some shows that are not meant for outdoors.
True. Great. Finally, before we, get to your surprise, the most compelling question that one needs to ask you: why do you call Rahul Dakuna Daku?
Oh, come on. Uh, so of course it comes from his name.
Name, yes, I kind of figured that out.
But
Yeah,
I think this guy steals everyone's hearts. He does it with his Amul, campaigns. He does it when you meet him in person. He does it with his knowledge of music. I mean, he's just such a lovable character. And yeah, he's a heart stealer, that man.
he's a heart stealer. Okay, we're going to cut this clip and send it to Rahul Dakuna specifically.
Yeah.
He's a gem of a person. I reached out to him for some feedback on I'd done a voiceover demo, and I wanted his feedback, and I sent it to him, and he sent me a voice note back and said, do you want feedback, or do you want me to just say it was okay? And I said, no, I want feedback. And it was actually a video that I got created by somebody, and he's like, you're not meant to do voiceovers. So my heart was hurt, but the guy is just a gem. He takes out time from his busy schedule. I don't know how he does 400 topicals a week,
Yeah.
but apparently that's the figure, that's the number. He's
Amazing.
creating amazing amount of content, and just a different class apart. And hopefully, is he the CEO of Dakuna Associates? Can I get him on the show?
You should, because
I
I
should.
think he's one of the most amazing people I've met in my life.
I
And
should.
we did a session. Tarsim had done this conference, this Brands and Music conference, and Brian Tellis was in conversation with Rahul. And the man's knowledge, the man's passion, what he's done in theater, it's just mind blowing. And for him to actually take time out and listen to a voice note that you sent him, hats off to him.
Hats off to him. So, Atul, thank you so much for your time on this Saturday morning. Now, we've created something for you. I don't know if you like it or not, or if it'll pass muster, but I'm going to muster up the courage to, play it for you. I'm not going to play you the whole track. It's a track, but I'm going to play you a little bit of it, and you will hear the full track when you tune into the episode. And no scrubbing through. You have to listen to everything again that you said, and maybe you learn something more from yourself while
I'll try.
watching it.
I'll try to be Rahul Laguna.
I never thought of that. Oh, but I just said it. Okay, now I'm going to place myself on mute. Please don't speak.
Cheers to Atul, the boss, the king, dropping one-liners like it ain't no thing. CEO now of Turnkey Pride, serving up knowledge industry wide.
Wow. Wow. That's so sweet. Yeah. Thank you, Sheldon.
So that's a little bit of a teaser for you. Thanks, Atul.
How
Thank
did
you
how
so
did you
much.
do that? No, one second. How did you do that? Was it AI?
Of course, of course. I
Amazing.
can't hold a tune, but I can write lyrics. So I write lyrics. So my band is called Humane. You know that about my band. My little 2-member band. One member has quit. Not quit, but he comes in as a consultant when
Oh,
required.
wow.
But
Wow.
he has created a monster. So we're talking about Dean, of course. So my band is very clearly, it's Humane, which is AIN. So it's very clear, front and center in the name. And I just love what technology can do, right? At the end of the day, maybe I'm just creating music for myself. I don't know, but
D- Did I tell you about my next career? Thanks to AI.
is
Oh, okay. So
you
I'm becoming a singer.
excellent.
My name is gonna be Pandit Bhimsen Atul Jackson.
Is that
I am going to sing all Michael Jackson songs in Rag Bhim Palasi, Rag Miya Ki Todi, etc. And I'll just make sure that my social media following goes from its current 3 to 3 billion.
excellent?
And once that happens, right, all my songs will become hits.
Of
And because
course,
all my songs are such big hits, there will be no concert where they won't call me, and I'll
of
get paid
course,
shitload of money. I
of
don't
course.
have to perform, but I'll stand there. The track will play, people will do wava. And guess what? I'm going to do that concert simultaneously in 100 cities across India and 250 across the world simultaneously.
Excellent.
That's AI.
That is your
That's
retirement.
the power of AI. No, but tell them, I'm
Yeah,
serious.
yeah,
This
yeah.
is the power
True,
of
true,
AI.
true,
It's
true, true,
amazing.
true, true. So there are friends who kind of dish me for, you know, being intoxicated with AI, but it is just amazing what can be done, right?
Yes.
You can bury your head in the sand and say this is rubbish and this is, but listen, I mean, if you're a graphic artist and you're using Corel and you're using Photoshop, that's AI of a kind as well, right?
Yeah.
um, sure, there are pros and cons, and we can debate that on a separate episode on part two.
I so
But
I don't think there's a con as such if you legislate properly, right? Then again, I'll repeat myself. You can't fight technology. You have to harness it.
correct,
Harness it properly. And today I talked to musicians and sound engineers, etc. KJ was with me yesterday or day before. He was talking about how quickly they can move things now thanks to AI. So don't diss AI, understand how to regulate it. I think
true,
that's important.
true. And the thing is that you were one of the first people I wanted to send the track Stuck in His Head to, right? It was a deeply personal track. And I was in Goa, I remember, and I sent it to you. It was just a voice note at that point in time. This is about a year back. And you so kindly gave me feedback, right? And we then had a conversation with you, and you explained that one gets 5 paise per stream on Spotify. And therefore, if you hit 1 million streams, you're likely to make 50,000 rupees. That's when my band buddy, kind of switched off his screen and figured that there's no money to be made in here,
I
right?
destroyed your business before
You
it started.
you destroyed my business model by saying get your business model right a couple of thousand times during that conversation. But I thank you so much for enduring, for at least enduring, that track. It has gone to hit 10 million
Mhm. So
streams.
I think the point really, Sheldon, is that we have to see how to then monetize stuff like this, right? So
Yes,
the world will move as the DSPs move towards paid subscriptions, which they're doing effectively now, and it will take maybe 2 or 3 years for it to reach the level that we want it to reach. But at the same time, there's going to be AI generated music, which might find its own path. And I think it doesn't take a business head to think about it. It could be Sean Fanning.
true,
Suddenly this
true,
kid comes out of nowhere and says, "Hey, Napster file share." So anyone
true.
who can create a business model around AI generated music, right, which is then not competing with human created music, hey, maybe there's a business.
Can I give you an observation that, obviously I've been fooling around with Suno, right, which is an AI tool to help you create music. I so after I finished, getting my song created, it starts playing, auto playing other tracks that have been created by other creators, right? On the platform. And honestly, Atul, I was walking and I quite enjoyed the music that was being played. Now, I was not being biased because I've created or because of AI. Beyond a point, the lines are so blurred today that, I mean, even YouTube, right? YouTube has these channels wherein they're creating AI music, gospel music, rap music. There are all kinds of different genres, right? The time that it would take to get a song to a producer to say, this is what I have in mind, what you typically call a scratch, right? I don't need to book a studio. I don't need to have the means to, put artists together. I mean, if I have to choose a singer to come and sing the track, of course, I could always approach an artist to say, this is a track I have. Can you sing it? My wife's after me to sing my own tracks. That that is a dangerous zone to get into. But yeah, I'm glad you're positive, at least about AI and using it and harnessing it as a tool. I think that's
I think
important.
it's an opportunity, Sheldon. And the problem is that we carry baggage. So because we've been dealing with, let's say, digital services which operate in a certain way, we are conditioned to think that AI will follow the same path. It doesn't need to.
It doesn't need to.
A simple thing could be Spotify started a new platform called Spotify AI. So
Correct.
all AI generated music goes and sits on that platform, and they pay 1/10 of what they're paying for human generated music.
Human music, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So it
It
works
could
for
be
everyone.
it could be Spotify, FAI.
AI. Yeah. Wow. Maybe they're listening.
Maybe they're listening. So anyway,
So who knows? And just to come back to what's happening with Sono, etc. So the industry is talking about them taking a license, making a payment for the input. Right?
correct.
I'm saying, of course, that's necessary. That is a precondition. What's of concern to me is the output, because once it's in the system, it can spew out probably 100,000 tracks per minute or second or whatever, right?
Correct.
What about the license for that? Because in my understanding, I could be wrong, the machine will not record anything. The machine is going to take little segments of little things already recorded and put it together. Right? Because
True.
computers, as I was told, can only add, move, and compare. AMC, right? They can't
Correct.
do anything beyond that. There was a ruling by the Supreme Court of the US where the machine was making a unique coffee, and they were trying to
Okay.
patent that. And the court said no, the coffee cannot be made by the machine unless there is a prompt from a human. So everything that is being put out into the system, in my understanding currently, is a combination of existing sound recordings. So until that whole definition is refined, etc., it's going to be a little challenging. So the output is what we need to look at, because is that something, how is that going to be paid for? It definitely needs to get paid for. But like I said, it's still early days, so one doesn't know which way it's going to swing. But we should try and look at opportunities to work with AI so that we're generating a new line of revenue with AI. Why are we trying to make it compete with what we have?
True. Deeply enlightening. Thank you so much, Atul. We'll let you get back to your lunch or coffee or chai. I don't know what's happening right now, but
Margarita to bol de yaar.
margarita, MD, margaritas with the MD. Thank you so much. I will
Thank you,
start
Sheldon.
Chai with the CEO out from there, and we'll put margaritas with the MD. We have to do part 2 and part 3 and part 4. There's so many questions to ask you and get clarifications. But
Happy to do it. Happy to do it.
thanks, Atul. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Have a nice day.
Bye. Bye.
You are listening to Chai with the CEO, a Random Genius Media original.